Welcome to today's walk and talk. Stopping off at Dunkin' like we did last week. Now, the coffee I got last week was pretty bad. Like, it might have been the worst coffee I've ever had. Hopefully, I don't know if it was burnt or what, but hopefully we got a better coffee this time. It's much better. I almost went to Quick Trip. I want to start off the walk and talk with two awesome gentlemen in the arcade community, Jester Tester and Firestarter Entertainment. If you could please go to their channels, give them a sub, and please pray for their health. The power of prayer goes a long way. So the topic today is going to be the new deluxe cabinets. Now, the Class of 81 was supposedly stolen and leaked a couple of pictures, and inside of that leak was an instruction manual with the Fast and the Furious as one of the deluxe cabinets that are coming out. And we're going to talk about that. Now, the maker of the Fast and Furious is a company called Raw Thrills. I'm going to get into Raw Thrills brands today, along with games very similar to that. And I have a new theory about Arcade1up going forward. Also, the Mortal Kombat 2 Deluxe has hit, and BCon just posted a video on that, so be sure to check that out. This is pretty exciting. The deluxe form factors are starting to hit, and we're close to spring, and we should be seeing these things really soon. We're going to grab some lunch at Point Burger Bar. This is located in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, right off of I-94. There's also a game room here that we're going to check out, and these are the type of titles, as we saw at resorts that we covered earlier, these are the type of titles that are at restaurants. And what I'm looking for today are similar titles to the Fast and Furious creator on the brand called Raw Thrills. And these are those humongous arcade machines with the huge LCD screens that we're finding at these types of places. All right, my first burger in 7 months. Kelly, what did you get?
BLT with avocado.
All right, and I got a regular burger with fries. All right, taking a bite out of my burger. It's been since July of 2022 since I had a hamburger. It's a great hamburger. This place is a burger bar. It's a fresh patty. Always wanted to try one of these. We have never eaten here before. Stepping into the game room here. They do have Daytona USA here. I'm trying to find the Raw Thrills brand. Now, that's who's making the Fast and Furious arcade. But they are going to look very similar to these. They're just going to be a bigger arcade cabinet. I mean, these are huge. I mean, if you saw these online, like to purchase, they'd be in that $15,000 range. These are the type of arcades we're coming across now when we go to restaurants and resorts at hotels with their game rooms. And this Racer Typhoon, this is the same type of style. These are the arcades that we do find. And it's not the nostalgia. It's having games like this at home. Having an arcade company make a home arcade with these titles. I mean, we're not really familiar with all of these. It just gives us something different to play when we're at home in an arcade we can purchase. They do have an axe throwing area here, along with a go-kart. You know, it's pretty cool having this on the back side of a restaurant. And that leads into their game room arcade. This is what to expect at restaurants and resorts. These are the type of arcade and game rooms. These are the type of games that we do find. I mean, look at this giant Connect 4 game. And the Space Invaders. You're not finding nostalgia at these types of places, but you are finding games like this. And that's what Arcade1up knows, and that's what retailers know, and that's why we're getting a lineup of the Fast and Furious series. And just down the road from Point Burger Bar is the Angleside Resort at the Springs Water Park. We were here the day before Arcade1up officially announced the new Star Wars cab. Notice how I didn't call it the re-release cab. It's the new Star Wars cab, the one with the lighted coin door and the continued art all the way down to the riser. We checked out the game room here on what to expect at a resort, hotel, arcade game rooms. And I came back here because they do have the Jurassic Park Raw Thrills brand. This is the same manufacturer, creator, that's doing the Fast and Furious. We'll go check this out really quick in their game room. Here's the Raw Thrills Jurassic Park arcade. They did make the Fast and Furious. And these are the type of arcade cabinets that you're going to see from this company. They're going to be big. They're all from, the early 2000s up to now. They'll have these humongous LCD screens. This is a shooting game. It's a two-player. And yeah, there's nostalgia with Jurassic Park. But is there nostalgia with this game per se? The point I want to make here is I want to sell the fact that the Fast and Furious, there's not going to be any nostalgia unless you're a huge Fast and Furious movie fan. There's the desire that you're going to have these types of games to play at home. I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, we could see a game like this from Arcade1up, a shooting Jurassic Park game. And, it's well, we want the 80s and 90s. We do. But the retailers know what's going to sell. And that's the thing. And that's what the community's talking about is this is what people are familiar with because this is what you're seeing when you do go out. You do go to game rooms. Having the Fast and Furious, I think it's going to be Arcade1up's best driving cabinet yet. It's going to feel like you're playing cruising. It's a third-person view, and there's going to be several titles from this Raw Thrills brand, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But you're going to see a lot of fun games on this cabinet. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people who weren't really interested in this when they first announced it. After you see how cool the cabinet's going to look and the games that are on there, I have a really good feeling about this cabinet. All right, so I wanted to save the best for last. We're at Dave & Buster's. They will have some of these Raw Thrills brands that we've been talking about here. It's been forever since I've been here, but the last time I was here, some of these game lineups that I'm going to show you here in a second were at Dave & Buster's, and it's just something we can speculate on the future of Arcade1up. I think this is a very interesting license they're getting with Raw Thrills. You're going to be really surprised with the game rights that are under the Raw Thrills. We saw the Jurassic Park at the Springs Resort arcade game room they had at that water park. You're gonna be shocked on some of these other Raw Thrills brands. So the developer for Raw Thrills, Eugene Jarvis, little backstory here. The game that he's going to be most recognized for, that we're probably all going to know, is that Cruisin' Blast. And, that's for the Switch, right? I mean, everyone is accustomed with this game now. It may not be your favorite cruising, but it's cruising. And, the Fast and the Furious, it's going to seem a lot like cruising. And, this is going to surprise a lot of people here. This is going to be a really great driving game. Some of the lineups here: Target Terror, which I'm not familiar with. We have Fast and Furious, Big Buck Hunter. I mean, we know Arcade1up's done those. Fast and Furious Superbike. So what if they gave us some bike games on here? We'd be using the steering wheel, but it'd be more driving games. Guitar Hero. This is something that people have brought up lately. I mean, we could see a Guitar Hero coming back. H2O Overdrive's interesting. We didn't get Hydro Thunder. H2O Overdrive would be very similar to that. What if they put this title on this cabinet? Wheel of Fortune, is this the Casino-cade version? Is that a Raw Thrills brand? You got to wonder where they're going with this license. Superbikes too. Fast and Furious Supercars. Dirty Driving. Now the cars, having a Disney franchise here, that might be a little complicating. Batman is something, you could see them making this Batman driving cab versus titles like Sega Spider-Man, the Superman arcade with the 2-player, the Batman arcade, having that driving game. I mean, imagine having a Batman stand-up cabinet in your game room with being able to play any one of those Batmobiles you ever remember. That would be cool. Aliens Armageddon, Super Alpine Racer, Jurassic Park, which we saw at the Springs Resort, MotoGP, another motorcycle game, Galaga Assault. So these are probably those bigger titles, like those huge arcades that you see that take up like a wall. Cruisin' Blast, which we just talked about, Alien Covenant, Space Invaders Frenzy. Now that's probably one of those enormous ones too. The Walking Dead, another shooting game. Injustice Arcade. So, we know about the DC and their, with Warner Brothers, their relationships because of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Those could be our superhero games. Could we see an Injustice from Arcade1up, a Batmobile game? Ninja Turtles, Superbikes 3, Nitro Trucks, Fast and Furious Arcade. There could be 12 games on this cabinet.
Raw Thrills, the Snow Cross, the Snowmobile. I mean, these are the games we're seeing at restaurants, arcade rooms at resorts, and it's not the nostalgia, it's the fact of having something like this in our home arcade. That huge, enormous arcade, I mean, we can see a game like this on the Fast and Furious. Very interesting stuff here. I wonder if this license is more of an affordable move for Arcade1up. That the retailers say, hey, what? These games, Winter X Games here, people know these titles. We can sell stuff like this, put it on a Fast and Furious cabinet. We'll move these cabinets. I mean, I think they had a good feeling on this, and I think Arcade1up could make money on titles like this. We just talked about another Raw Thrills brand, and with Arcade1up having that relation with Warner Brothers, I mean, just in the future, I think we can see titles like this on the arcade, whether we want these kind of titles or not. People know Justice League, they know the Injustice series. These are cabinets that they can sell. I'm really happy that I can find all these Raw Thrills games here. You can see we have Alien Covenant. I think going future, Arcade1up, these are the type of games we're going to see from them. I mean, we'll still get that nostalgia, we'll still get those 80s and 90s, but we have to remember that, they're not necessarily making these games for us 40, 50, 60-year-olds. They're making them to want a younger generation. You go to places like this is what people know. This is what they're playing now. And if they can have this at home, they know that they can get kids hooked. They can sell these. Cruisin' Blast. I mean, the Raw Thrills brand, there's a ton of them here. We just look at this game, this is what we would get. Eugene Harps developed this game, this is what we would get with the Fast and the Furious. I mean, this is exciting. This is going to be the best driving cabinet from Arcade1up yet. It's going to be as close to Cruisin' as we're going to get, whether we ever see that or not. I'm really excited about the Fast and the Furious. And I think a lot of people are going to be as excited once we understand the type of games that are going to be on here. There's that Jurassic Park we saw, another Raw Thrills. It's the exact same game. With the 2-player shooter.
would you get a Jurassic Park shooting game? Well, it'd be pretty wild. You know, what draws people to an arcade, at your home arcade? Shooting games and racing games, people are just gonna like flock to those.
It's just a matter of time before they do give us a house of the dead. They know we want it.
You know, it's promising that we see this game here. You know, I know there's so much nostalgia with the House of the Dead, but people would recognize this, younger age group would recognize this. We could probably see this sooner rather than later. I'd make the assumption that we'd see this before we'd see like a Daytona USA. The fact that it's here, it's reassuring that I bet you were close on getting the House of the Dead.
You know, even a game like Halo, people are going to recognize this. I mean, look at the size of this arcade. It's just enormous. Look at these monitors. We got a 4-person shooting game here. This is wild. Now, these are the type of shooters that retailers would want to sell. They know Halo. I mean, everyone knows Halo from the year 2000 on. We got another Raw Thrills brand. Superbikes 3, another title we could see on the Fast and Furious. I mean, we're not going to get a motorcycle in a home arcade, right? We could get a game like this. I mean, they put a couple of these on here with like 3 racing Fast and Furious, maybe that H2O Overdrive. The reason to get that happen. We can play these things. I mean, it'd be fun having as many racing titles, different kind of racers on that game. There's that Gallagher game from Raw Thrills. This is how the retro classic arcades have come down the line here. This is what we're seeing. It's attracting that younger audience. People know Gallagher. And when they think of Gallagher, they think of games like this now. And I'm sure they're thinking of Arcade1up is thinking, hey, you know, these are the games you want to go further with. You want to go with these newer type titles, newer looks, because that's what people know we could sell these. Even getting the Guitar Hero, it's believable. This is a Raw Thrills title. On the partnership with Konami. You know, we could see Guitar Hero in the future. You know, a lot of people have said recently, like, how cool would it be to get Guitar Hero? And it's just amazing how things come. They go out and then they come back and they're just as popular as ever. All this Walking Dead, as we went over the game lineup before we came in here, I didn't have any idea we would see this many Raw Thrills titles at Dave & Buster's. If I would have known this, I probably just would have came here instead of stopping at Point Burger Bar. We did get a good burger though. And looking for that Jurassic Park ride at the Springs Resort. Another shooter. Just thinking the endless ideas they could do, having the rights to Raw Thrills. In the next 2 years, we can see a lot new current titles
it was so noisy in there. I hope you could hear some of the stuff I was saying, but I'm going out on a limb here. I'm calling it now. The Fast and the Furious will be Arcade1up's best driving cabinet yet. And I said the same thing about Ridge Racer. I said this is going to be the driving cabinet. You know, everyone wants Daytona, but this is the one to get. And it is the one to get right now with that mod from buystufarcades.com to add all those titles. And people ask me, are you going to get that mod? I want the cabinets. I mean, how cool would it be to have 2-3 driving cabinets in your arcade room? And I'm looking at, and it's cool to have cabinets that have a ton of games on, or like the Hilo hack that could take up all my Street Fighter 2 cabs. I could get rid of all my Street Fighter 2 cabs if I needed the room. I mean, how much awesome would it be to have racing cabinets, 3 of them, in your arcade versus having 3 Street Fighter 2s? The only thing with some of these is the online experience, and it's cool to have arcade cabinets that you can play with others online. You know, having a hack on the MVSX, no, you're not playing anybody. You're playing the computer, unless you have someone over and you're playing against a 2-player. But you know, racing cabinets, light gun games, they draw people. I mean, that's the first thing you would see in someone's arcade, like that. You'd want to play those games. All these titles we just saw at Dave & Buster's, all Raw Thrills. I mean, there's like 80% of the games in here are the Raw Thrills brand, and I could see Arcade1up in the future giving us a lot of these brands. And you know, it's not going to appeal to the people looking for nostalgia, but it gives you new games to play at home, new light gun games, new racing games. They know that they could sell these cabinets. Retailers know that they could sell these. They recognize names like DC Injustice with the Justice League. You know, I mean, we're not going to see Cruise and Blast, but the Alien and Walking Dead, Jurassic Park. People know what this is, and they could draw a younger crowd. Very interesting. It's going to be fun to speculate going forward. Now, they didn't have that Batman game here, and I was hoping that they would have that. That's another Raw Thrills brand. I mean, how awesome would it be, even though it would probably be a stand-up Batman-themed driving cabinet? I mean, how cool would that be to have that arcade at home? And I mean, that's more of a believable DC property that we could see along with that Injustice. It's not going to appeal to all of us. I mean, they're not going to always give us our 80s and 90s titles. But to have a new lineup of games at home, I mean, that would just be huge. And it's going to draw interest, even from us diehards that, you know, we want those older games. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys next time.